every California school that has porn in their library should be kicked out.
Does that include the Bible? Does that include the Bible?
Well, I wouldn't say the song.
I wanted to update you guys on a few things. The first thing is my wife and I, we just welcomed our third child into the world. I'm going to throw a picture up of Rawlings Kennedy. Beautiful baby girl. And we're super happy. So that's why I've been a little behind, is we just had our third child. The second update is Clear Truth Media is doing their second annual conference. So I wanted you guys to know about it. If you're interested in attending a Christian conference, they're great. Speaker lineup right now, we have Vadi Bakum, we've got Doug Wilson, we've got Rob McCoy, Megan Basham, Stephen Whitlow, which is my pastor, and I think we have maybe one or two more that I'm forgetting off the top of my head, but I'm going to drop a picture with all of the speaker lineup down below and the dates. The link where you can buy tickets is going to be in the description of this video. So yeah, go subscribe to Civically Minded. He's my real good buddy, Cory Wing, Civeccly Minded. He deals with Christian living, politics, and everyday life theology kind of stuff. He's a real good brother. He's a Presbyterian, but we're not going to hold that against him. Cool. On to the episode. And again, if you guys are watching, I think like 70% of the viewers that view this channel aren't subscribed. So if you could just do me the favor, it really helps me with the algorithm. I put a lot of work into this content. I'd really appreciate if you could just click the subscribe button. It's free. Like the videos, share them for me. I put a lot of work into this, so it'd be really nice. If you're listening on audio, you're not watching on YouTube, just leave a review. That'd be great. 5-star review, 4-star review. And if you really hate, God and Christian stuff, and maybe it's just me, maybe you just don't like me, just leave a 1-star review. I'm okay with that too. Yeah, guys. So again, if you listen regularly, I really, from the bottom of my heart, I really appreciate you guys. And I'm going to stop rambling and we're going to get into this episode. Cool. All right. Check this out with me and my buddy Cory. All right, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Watchwell Podcast, where Greg Moore is next to us being super loud.
Super loud.
He is so loud. Ladies and gentlemen.
These are swivelly. I'm going to be distracted the whole time.
We're just going back. That's what I do.
Like a child.
I got to move. What are we talking about, Cory?
I don't know. Can I twist this?
You can do whatever. It's a condenser microphone. It's not a dynamic microphone, so you got to talk into the side of it.
Oh, into the side.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, listen to that.
Okay, so Charlie Kirk went on Gavin Newsom's podcast. Have you seen this yet?
Gavin Newsom's new podcast, where he's trying to kind of reimagine just recent history, where he was such a douchebag that everyone hated him.
Yeah.
And he's trying to rewrite history. And if there's not a signal for, hey, I'm running in 2028.
Right. So guys, welcome back to another episode of Behind the Curtain, where we do whatever we want because we want to watch things well.
In this case, we're in front of the curtain.
We are in front of the curtain, but the segment's behind the curtain. And essentially what we want to do here is we want to, watch movies well, and we want to watch social media well, YouTube, all of the things we want to watch well through the lens of a Christian worldview, and we want to respond correctly. And today we're going to be going over the Gavin Newsom Charlie Kirk interview. Charlie Kirk went on Gavin Newsom's show, and as Cory was saying, is still really hard to take serious. But I guess that's where we are. Man, this is like. But anyway, have you seen this before?
I have not. This is. I will be reacting in real time.
Yeah, me too. So we're gonna watch this. We're gonna go through it, and then we'll do a little bit. We're probably not gonna have time to do the whole thing, but it'll be an adventure for sure. I've only seen a few clips, but I've seen clips, but I haven't really seen. I haven't seen anywhere near the whole thing.
Well, okay.
So let's kind of just.
If you've seen any, you've seen more than me. So it's been a busy couple days here in Ohio.
Shoot. I went to the wrong one. Sorry. Here, I got to do this. I got to do Gavin. I got to go to the one on Gavin Newsom because we don't want Charlie Kirk's opinion. We just want the podcast because that would be kind of annoying, right?
Let's
see. Can we find it?
It could be entertaining.
Where's it at? Is this it? Yeah, this is it right here.
Because you have expressed that I should be concerned as a Democrat, that we're getting clobbered.
Yes.
that you figured something out.
It's not me. The president first deserves the credit.
But why? No, hold on. You were at this before Trump was Trump.
I know, but
he was a Democrat back in 2011 and 12.
The president deserves huge credit. And I just have to say that as an obligatory thing, because without him, our movement would be small. And you can appreciate that in politics. You have to appreciate the person who is the catalyst.
For you, that's what you sort of attached an identity.
It was
with
also
him.
just the catalyst. It was a cultural moment that just opened us up. But
go back just on that, because I'm curious. In 2012, 13, 14, who were you identifying with from the movement perspective?
I was more like, as I mentioned, Rand Paul libertarian, because that's where the energy really was, right? And then President Trump comes on. Again, I was still very early in.
They're going back to 2011, 2012, maybe 2013, where Ron and Rand Paul were kind of thought to be some of the figureheads. And then, of course, as you come out of that era, I mean, this is coming near the end of Obama's 2 terms, of course. 2012 would be the beginning of his 2nd term. And we didn't really have any good answers for Barack Obama. I mean, he just slaughtered us both times at the polls, of course.
You said 2012?
Yep.
So I was a senior in high school. So you're old.
Yeah, I graduated high school in 96.
96?
Uh-huh. When were you born?
I was born in 1992.
Yeah, you were 4.
I was 4.
When I graduated high school. And did I say that we're good friends?
Yeah.
Age
is just a construct.
That's right. When you come out of my knees would say otherwise, and my prostate. When you come out of that shellacking, both the first and second term of Obama, we didn't have any really good answers in the Republican Party. There was a lot of rhinoism, which sadly there still is, but you had a lot of these, just feckless, Republican and name only people. And it wouldn't really be until probably 13, 14, 15, and going into the 16 election, of course, which is when Trump really came down the escalator and kind of shook the world up.
Did the Simpsons thing?
That's a whole episode.
That's a whole thing, man.
That's a whole episode.
That's wild, right?
I don't know how to explain the Simpsons phenomena. And that's just one of like 20 or 30 of those things they've done. Yeah. I don't know how I think they have a demon on like writing staff. I'm not sure.
I don't know, but it gives the words, the cessationists.
Yes.
And
the cessationists and the continuationists.
It gives them
gives us some fodder to talk about.
Yeah.
I mean, they've got Nostradamus beat all to crap. That's for sure. Nostradamus has nothing on the creative team over at The Simpsons.
That's wild.
But so when you get into that area, Rubio's starting to be kind of a name. Ted Cruz is already starting to be kind of a pretty big political figure in the Republican Party. Of course, they would all run, or they would all primary, I should say, against Trump. Of course, everyone thought Jeb Bush would be a much more productive and attractive Republican because, he had a brother and a dad that have already been president. And no matter what America says, we love a good dynasty. We pretend like we're not an aristocracy or that we don't like royal families. That's all fake. Because humans like that kind of stuff. You can go all the way back to the Old Testament and see that the Jews picked Saul because they looked at Saul and went, well, he's tall and he's good looking and he's a man's man and he seems like a leader. So I pick that guy. They're really, we like to think that we are more educated, more intelligent, more, pragmatic, that we're going to really weigh the stuff. We don't usually do that.
Yeah, pride.
We usually just kind of look at somebody and go, I like that guy.
Yeah.
And so it's just one of those things.
Sometimes we don't even know why we like that guy.
That's right. Sometimes it's just aesthetic, or it's just I get a vibe. There's something about him I like. Again, Gavin Newsom's a really good example of that. Gavin Newsom's attractive. He's kind of, for a politician, he's young. He's charismatic. He's well spoken. He's really articulate.
Yeah.
I can see the attraction to a Gavin Newsom. Now he's a slime ball.
Yeah.
A total and utter slime ball, and a feckless, awful leader. But he looks sexy doing it, and by golly, if someone's going to just throw your entire state into the toilet, don't you want them? This is the same state that has Hollywood. They have been letting good-looking people throw their whole culture in the toilet for decades. So why not one more?
A lot, who's the top voices? What do you believe? Why do you believe it?
Yeah. So more libertarian front.
It was more, and I still have some libertarian leanings on some.
And when Trump came down that escalator, you're like, boom, that's
not
my
day
guy.
one. No, I was mystified at first.
Why? Just saying this guy's, there's no chance.
No, it's funny. I actually sent out a tweet 2011 when I was in high school saying Trump should run for office, but I was not mystified negatively. I was like, can this really happen? Can a guy that has no political experience come down an escalator, challenge the whole establishment? Right.
But you didn't expect Donald Trump to come down the escalator and start talking about illegal aliens or, rapists.
I didn't disagree with it. I
see that coming.
And again, this is well documented. Early in my journey, I underestimated the silent majority that really wanted a rebalance.
Here we are in the Midwest. We're in Ohio as we sit here. I'm originally from Indiana, another Midwest state. I think Charlie is speaking to something that most Americans from, the border, what I call the borderlands, so your Northeasterners, even sometimes your Florida folks, certainly your West Coasters. I mean, where we're sitting currently is affectionate or not so affectionately called flyover country, right? Yep. So we're in flyover country.
The peasants.
Yeah, that's right. The plebes. I'm from flyover country. And while Charlotte, which is where I live now, Charlotte, North Carolina has grown and has become a lot more of a destination recently. And I mean like in the last 10 to 15 years, maybe not even 15, probably last 10 years. Historically, historically, North Carolina was the most agricultural state in the Union. And we still have some of the most agricultural heavy counties in America to this day. That was nobody had, hey, Charlotte, North Carolina, and North Carolina in general are going to become major players on their bingo card. That just wasn't there. So as we are still one of the 2 or 3 fastest growing states in the country, and we have been for almost a decade, things are shifting, things are changing for us now. But historically, that's not been the case. So I have constantly lived my whole life in states where basically we live with the results of what the important people do. And certainly we are sitting in a state where that's true.
It's like the Hunger Games.
That's right. Yeah. We're District 12.
Yep.
And if you don't know that reference, go watch the movie and then think of WatchWell. And so there's something about these elites, and I'm not picking on Charlie Kirk because he's from where he's from. He didn't ask to be from there any more than you asked to be from here, or I asked from being where I'm from. So if you come up in those more elitist areas, you don't even think about the average American, this what he calls the silent majority, and they really are. These are the men and women that get up, they go to work, they hold blue collar jobs, a lot of time in factories, or historically they would do farming and things like that. Of course, that's kind of not around as much anymore, but they have very normal, basic blue collar lives. And they're the type of people who say, hey, if you don't bother me, I won't bother you. I'm just happy to raise my kids, get my gold watch at the end of my career, and just fade into obscurity. They're not looking to overturn the world. But when you try to shovel crap down their throat long enough, these are the same people that will say, that's enough. I wanted to be left alone. Remember the deal. I'd leave you alone, but the deal was you would leave me alone. You're not leaving me alone. So when you derail a car in a train in rural Ohio and poison the entire town and then act like, that's because of the inherent racism of trains. Or, hey, I would look into that, but me and my husband have to go adopt our 14th child. So I'll get back to you when I'm back from maternity leave, whatever the crap Buttigieg was doing in his tenure as, the Secretary of Transportation, which was to say he was doing nothing. So I think
on the taxpayer dime.
That's right. Yeah. Charlie Kirk is onto something here when he admits openly, I didn't see this coming. And I think that's true. I think whether you're talking Republican or Democrat, they didn't see this coming because it really hadn't happened. That particular people group is historically happy being behind the scenes. So no one saw it coming when they rose up and said, no, we're done.
Yeah.
political landscape.
So interesting. So Trump then became the catalyst. And so Turning Point became sort of next level. Your events start growing. Right. You organize around that. Turning Point Action becomes what?
The political arm. One is more educational, one is more political. And we did ballot chasing in Arizona and Wisconsin. We were successful in that. Alongside the Trump campaign, Arizona was the best performing swing state.
And you're not modeling yourself at it.
Charlie looks like, don't get me wrong, Charlie's always poised.
Yeah.
From what I can tell. There's only one instance, and that was with that was at like Politicon or something, and he went after Cenk, who was in the audience. Remember Cenk Iger?
Cenk Unger, yeah. Which for those of you who may not know, because this is more of a movie channel, that's the Young Turks. They're horrible people, but Cenk is the guy that kind of is the face of the Young Turks. Yeah. Yeah,
and so other than that, like, but here he just seems like. I wonder what the decision-making process was like to decide to go on this podcast.
I think it's a brilliant idea.
Well, I get it, right? To reach his audience.
Yeah.
But he kind of looks like he doesn't want to be there.
Well, I think there's a difference
between
his body language and all that.
You saw that, right? I'm not crazy.
Turning Point
right
Action
here.
becomes
absolutely. The political arm.
This little
one
look
is more
down.
Educational, one is more political. And we did ballot chasing in Arizona and Wisconsin. We were successful in that. Alongside the Trump campaign, Arizona was the best performing swing state.
And you're not
that's just what when
the flatness of the surrounding
that little eye thing. I mean, I might probably reading into it a little bit. It's just like, like, dude, come on, do your research before you talk to me, kind of thing.
Well, I don't want to be here. Pastorally, I think of all the times that Jesus said, even to his own disciples, how much longer do I have to be here with you people? How do you not understand what I'm trying to say?
Or the Pharisees, right? He's like, have you not read?
That's it,
dude.
I think there is something to be said. Yes, you're probably not overestimating the body language, but I do think it's he's unimpressed with Gavin Newsom is used to everybody kissing his rear end and telling him how brilliant and how wonderful, and because they all want in the Gavin Newsom world. Charlie Kirk doesn't want in the Gavin Newsom world. He's using Gavin Newsom to, again, like you said, reach an audience,
to bring people into his world.
That's right. To expose people who maybe wouldn't listen to Turning Point, and now who are traditionally Gavin Newsom hardcore liberals, and then they may hear something in this conversation that makes them go, wait a second.
Yeah.
And then do more exploration, right? You rarely change minds in one of these types of conversations. Like, I say the same thing when pastors do debates, right? We don't really, our good friend Keith Foskey and I were part of a panel that was debating. I'm a Paedo Baptist. He's a Credo Baptist. We debated those topics. And I said in the debate, I think this is a pastoral issue, which means at best, you hear something here tonight in the debate, it piques your interest, and then you need to go talk to your pastor or another pastor and help them walk you through the position more cogently, more clearly, walk you through scripture. Because these type of worldview conversations, at best, in what is this, 30 minutes? Something like that. You can't really change worldview in 30 minutes because you didn't establish your worldview in 30 minutes. You established your worldview over your entire life. So those conversations are something that needs to be rooted in a more robust discussion, but also just study. You need to look into the issues. So what Charlie Kirk's doing here is just saying, hey, I want to give you just enough ammunition to say, wait a minute, he exposed some stuff that I was unaware of. He told some truths that maybe I never heard, and then they can seek more information. But what Gavin's not used to is people not just saying you're the greatest thing since sliced bread. I mean, he comes from money. Gavin Newsom comes from incredible wealth. He is incredibly wealthy still. Again, for a politician, I mean, I realize there's some of your audience members that are going to go, that ain't young. That guy's old. Yeah, but again, you got to put it in perspective. When our president's as old as he is, and our last president was like,
dead,
had dementia basically, and was like, a walking corpse. For a politician, this is a young man. So this is a young, vibrant, good-looking, charismatic, wealthy, and
suave.
And I mean, he presents well. He's got, attractive women that want to be with him, and good-looking, men that want to be him. So he's used to being treated like that. So in strides Charlie Kirk and goes, I'm unimpressed.
Yeah.
And he's not prepared for that kind of treatment.
Meaning, where are the Democrats? Are you looking at other organizing?
We were modeling off of some of the ballot chasing, ballot harvesting practices of the left.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's, again, that's a self-limiting principle. You can't ballot chase if no one wants to vote for you.
That's right.
Yes. Well, and you saw Charlie's, while you're getting past this ad, you saw Charlie's body language there where he was kind of closed off. He had his arms folded in front of him. I mean, that's a very guarded posture.
Yeah, they're still feeling each other out.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Best organizers in the world, and you have 2,000 people chasing ballots in Arizona, and you're running Kamala Harris in Arizona. What we ended up tracking through our data is that the Democrats were chasing for us. Is that they were chasing low propensity Hispanics, thinking that they were all for Kamala. And in fact, we were looking at the precinct numbers of areas we didn't hit that moved like 20 points in Trump's direction. We're like, well, thank you very much, Kamala campaign, for getting out and chasing our ballots, and for all these Hispanic men that are mechanics.
Wow.
We appreciate it. Thanks for making sure that we also won Dave McCormick's Senate seat.
Right.
So again, chasing is only one part of the
way that they're talking about this is really tough, and it reminds me, you're a John Lovell fan, about how,
look at this.
Oh yeah, I got mine on too.
Yeah, that's
right. Can you treat war as chess? Have you heard him say that?
Yes, and I think the answer is yes.
Yeah, well, you have to.
And let me caveat that. I think the answer is yes, but you have to understand that chess, while typically a long game, can be a blitz.
Mm-hmm.
So as long as you're being strategic, understanding what game you're playing, that even within chess, there's blitz chess, and then there's we're going to sit here for the next 3 days
you don't want to waste time. You want to get in, capitalize on blunders and different things like that. But I think that's kind of what this is sounding like.
Yep.
And I think I guess my whole point in all of this is it feels off because it is.
Yeah.
We were never designed, we were never, I want to be particular with my words here, because supposed to, never supposed to, and you get into the whole sovereignty of God. I don't want to speak incorrectly, but in the garden was it like war didn't exist. Like it was not.
Well,
you know what I'm trying to say?
But it kind of did.
Well, it did.
You're right. So there was a chess match happening, but Adam didn't realize there was a chess match happening.
Right. So the enemy looked different. It wasn't man on man. It wasn't, death had not happened yet.
No.
So I think that's a testament to the fallen world we live in, because, whether it's political, like what Charlie and Gavin are talking about, or it's a war and people's lives are at stake, and there's cause and effect, but
people's lives are at stake on what they're talking about.
You're right.
I mean,
yeah.
So and I think that's what this conference has been great about. The whole concept that your pastor, Stephen Whitlow, has said, I value knowledge and I value worldview so highly that I'm going to start, this media company, this Clear Truth Media Company. We're going to bring in some really great thinkers and pastors and teachers and educators and political pundits. And really started to build this broad coalition, not just broad ecumenically, which he's done, but broad across the spectrum of, hey, this guy does this and this gal does that. And, again, something with Megan Basham and Rosaria but also people, like Turning Point, or Jamie Bambrick, or, or just pastors, who are, I say just pastors. There is no such thing as I'm just a pastor, because the ones who see it, and this gets said in the Reformed world, especially all the time, they want to quote that men of Issachar thing. And yeah, that verse is true, and they're not misquoting it. They're right. But the problem with so many of us, and I say us because I'm sure I've been guilty of this, and I'd love to say I'll never be guilty of it again, but I'm a sinner, so I probably will be, is you like to think of yourself as the men of Issachar, right? It's never... none of us want to be the support staff for the men of Issachar. We want to be the men of Issachar, or we want to be King David, or we always want the position
of power and authority
that's out in front, that's going to get the pats on the back and the accolades. What I've appreciated, I got to interview Rob McCoy, who's one of the pastors here. What I loved about Rob is his unbelievable humility. He's the pastor for that man. He's Charlie Kirk's pastor. He's Seth Gruber's pastor. Those men who are out doing huge things, he's the guy they call.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, I don't know. I don't care. I don't care that no one knows my name. I mean, it takes an incredible amount of biblical humility and intensity and intentionality. Yeah, I mean, you really have had to grow in your discipleship with Christ and mature in your own way to say, I don't need to be the guy. He can be the guy.
That's such a good.
And I want to be faithful in my role.
That's so good. I love that because that's how legacies start. Like it requires that. Whether it's I think Seth Gruber mentioned something in his speech about the men. So like the humility goes both ways, right? So it's the men who have the ability to make disciples and make the men that are willing to go off and be the men of Issachar, right? But then it's also the men of Issachar standing on the shoulders of the giants that made them.
That's exactly right.
And it's a two-way street, right?
That's exactly right. And I mean,
fathers and sons should do the same thing.
That's exactly right.
Right.
And let's make this just spicier than maybe it already is. Let's dip back to about 6 months ago when we were at the Fight Laugh Feast conference, and there was this air at the Fight Laugh Feast conference that was kind of over. It was tense.
You could cut it with a knife.
It was tense because, of course, about 6 months ago, there was this big thing in the reform world that happened. And fathers and sons, spiritually speaking, were at each other's throats. And that lasted, and sadly, it's kind of still going on to some degree, but it has lessened, thankfully.
Yeah.
But and I made a video back then that said I think both sides have forgotten their roles. You know, I think the fathers are starting to forget the charge not to exacerbate your sons, which they're doing, and that the sons have forgotten that while you do have the right to disagree with dad, you don't have the right to be disrespectful while doing it.
Yeah.
You know, so it's imperative.
Honor your father and mother so that
not
your
when they
days
deserve
belong.
it.
Yeah, there's no caveat.
There's no qualifiers.
Yeah, there's
That's
none.
right.
It's honor your father and mother so your days belong in the land, right?
That's right.
Yeah. So, I think, I mean, we kind of went through a lot there. Let's do one more.
Yeah, man.
One more.
Let's go.
Horse are better organizers than us. I mean, it's in your blood. Barack Obama was a community organizer. We make fun of it. It's who you guys are. Right. You guys have labor as a backbone, clipboard and tennis shoes. However,
and labor less and less. We can talk about that
for sure.
in a moment. Yeah.
But
is that a call out to the unions?
Yes. Yeah.
So what are your thoughts there? We'll do this and then one more. So because I thought we would listen to a little bit more, but
no.
But the unions. So there was a time for the unions, in my opinion, and I think the time is over. And I think that for the most part, they do more harm than they do good.
Well, let's unpack that a little more because, again, I always, especially on my channel, I talk about a lot of these high-level topics. So I don't want to ever assume that all of my audience knows the inside baseball, right? So let's unpack what you mean by that because you're right. When labor unions started in this nation, which goes back to really the early 1900s, you're looking at there wasn't any Department of Labor. You know, there was no federal, or even usually most states didn't have any tool or resource to protect the employees. You know, so you had child labor, you had incredibly unsafe work environments. You know, there's story after story, especially in major cities, especially in like textiles or other industrial applications where people were, trapped in a burning building, or I mean, crazy stories that you're like, what, that happened? Well, there was no one to not make it happen, and sadly, the nature of man, because of our sinfulness, when you get into a corporate setting, and we still see this, is that your greed starts to kick in, you want profit margins, and then that greed gets traded in for what's called rapaciousness, which is greed at all costs, and you're willing to cut corners, and you're willing to do things that are going to harm people or even kill people. And so, yes, into that fray comes labor unions. Again, I agree. For good reasons. Let's protect employees from these, terrible. Now there is some Marxism behind it too. I don't want your audience to be, completely misty-eyed and go, "Oh, labor unions, shucks." No. There was certain Darwinian Marxism that is attached to all that, and there's a party going on here in the room. But it's good stuff. There was some Darwinian Marxism that's tied into that as well, where of course. The money guys are always evil, and the which goes back to that very
greedy
Russian
goblins,
that Russian Revolution idea, the proletariat and the and all of that. So the that's baked into the pie. But out of that come the labor unions. And then, of course, out of the labor unions come like mafia. You get the Jimmy Hoffa type stuff that happens. And I mean, it gets really corrupt quickly, much quicker than anyone would have seen coming probably. But nowadays, and I've got friends that again, because we're both from the Midwest, I've got friends in labor unions.
Refresh my history here. Is this somewhat around the birth of like the FBI and
It's going to predate some of that even, but yes, you're going to get some involvement with J. Edgar Hoover. Some of that. But again, we could do a whole episode just on the weaponization. We talk about lawfare now. And everyone thinks that's a new thing, or like that's what J. Edgar Hoover was doing. I mean, he had dossiers on all of the players, and then those dossiers were used to great effect to manipulate the outcomes of things that he wanted manipulated. So to act like, well, the FBI has really gotten, it's turned. The FBI is exactly what it's always been.
Since its inception.
The FBI is doing the same thing the FBI has constantly done. Now, you can go into interstate commerce law, and that when the FBI was founded, we didn't have interstate commerce law, and so there was no functional way to say a guy committed a crime here in Ohio and then he fled to Alabama. There was no, unless
some good.
So again, there were reasons, and there always are, right?
Yeah.
So those reasons though usually are far outlasted. As you said, to the point of labor unions. We don't really need labor unions anymore. I've got friends that work in labor unions and are even in management labor unions. And one of my good friends told me privately just a few years ago, he said, look, the truth of the matter is all labor unions do now is take money, consolidate power, lobby politicians, and get even employees who I catch like stealing their job back. Mm-hmm. I in effect can't fire anyone, even if they've done a fireable offense, because the union will step in and within 3 or 4 days, that guy's back on the job.
Yeah, and ultimately what that means is the employees run the business.
Yeah,
it's theft.
Yeah,
it's a theft of control and power.
Yeah. So the men or man that brought all the capital, whether that's mental capital or usually financial capital, the guy who had the great idea, the guy that had the great idea and took the risk to, but see, that's where Democrats and Republicans are very different in their view of economics.
Yeah.
From a laissez-faire economic system to a more, again, that proletariat type mindset of, well, it's the employee. It's this very Marxist idea of, without the low man, you couldn't do what you do. Well, but I did do what I did without them. I'm the one that brought the money to the table. I did start this company when I didn't have those 400 employees. Yes, sure, they helped grow it, but my capital helped grow it. My intellect helped grow it. My charisma helped grow it. I mean, so
belief.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of belief.
So the WatchWell podcast right now is this.
Yeah.
But fast forward, say 10 years, 20 years, 25 years, say the WatchWell podcast is now a syndicated thing and it's in, 50 major markets all across the country. Do you owe the men and women who then run small, syndications of the WatchWell podcast, do you owe them something? Well, of course you owe them something. That's called, you pay them.
Yeah.
That's what you owe them. You owe them opportunity. And they get to choose whether they want to accept that opportunity or reject it.
I owe them insofar as much as the agreed upon terms state.
That's exactly right.
And anything more than that.
And if you're a good employer, maybe some growth vector.
Of course. And development, leadership development kind of thing. But mentorship.
You don't owe them the blood, sweat, and tears that you put into it, because where were they in, March of 2025 when you were sitting here in Monclova? They weren't around. You were doing all the legwork to build this thing now. So that it's just again, these two men represent polarized opposites of not just political view, but of worldview, which then, of course, has practical implications on the political realm. Yeah, let's just go forward.
So what we should do right now is every California school that has porn in their library should be kicked out.
Does that include the Bible?
Well, I wouldn't say the Song of Solomon is porn.
No, but I mean, some have made that point. Is that a fair point?
I don't think that's fair.
And as a man of faith, and I deeply admire that about you.
Thank you.
Sincerely.
Yes, but no, I mean, again, the Song of Solomon is rather risque.
No, it's
but what we're talking about in these books is
Okay. We can do a little bit on that right there. So, like, the Song of Solomon is risque. So, I guess you would have to answer the question: was Song of Solomon written to titillate? Because that's what porn is.
Yeah. Well, and again, I think there's a lot to unpack there.
You take it for wherever you want, because I kind of jumped ahead to that.
No. That man, what a cool thing to stop on. Because you just skipped forward and that's where we landed.
I just randomly picked a spot.
So that's fantastic. But so if you look at the Song of Solomon, which absolutely is the most sexually explicit book in the Scriptures. But what's going on in the Song of Solomon, right? So one, you're getting kind of metaphorical language to describe a man and his wife talking about what men and women do as husband and wife, and then that is being related to Christ and his bride. Or and everyone would say, well, that's Old Testament. Grow up.
Yeah, we're past.
Talk to Andy Stanley.
Yeah, we're past that. We're past unhitching anything.
Yeah. It's
we're hitched.
Go drink Andy Stanley's Kool-Aid if you want to. But no thanks. So there's one story of redemption. The whole Bible is telling it, Old and New Testament. But so first, primarily, there's a metaphorical thing happening between the story of this husband and wife and the greater story of Christ and his bride. But even if you want to look at the real sexual, and yes, in some ways almost gratuitous things being said by the Song of Solomon, then it's still okay. It's still okay because you're still talking within the bounds of the transcendent truth of God's word. This is still a husband and a wife. What Charlie Kirk's referring to that's going on in the public school libraries of California and sadly many other states is you're getting books on, William and Chad loved each other. Well, now we've escaped transcendent truth, and this is about homosexual, sexuality. This is about children's sexuality. This is about, thruples or some kind of other deviant outside the bounds of what the created order given by God, so what Gavin Newsom
given by God, but that nature echoes.
That nature definitely echoes. That's right. But what again, there's worldview on display here too. So what Gavin Newsom is basically saying was, well, what about the Bible? As if the Bible is just some other text. Well, that's because that's what he believes. Now, he can give a platitude to Charlie Kirk of, I respect the true man of faith. No, I mean, sincerely, I really do.
Yeah.
Okay. Kudos, guess. I mean, cool.
It's like a virtue signal.
You have a great jawline. What do you? I mean, if we're just giving each other hollow compliments, it's just a virtue signal, and it's what politicians do, right? Well, and it's what this whole podcast he's doing is about.
Yes, that's right. So it's like, okay, well, I have this. I'm gonna throw this comment. Well, what about the Bible? But I respect it. It's the left.
It is.
It's what they do. It's like, I'm going to be inclusive when it's convenient, and then I'm going to actually be divisive. When I want my message or worldview to trump yours, which is exclusive.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and the truth is, all human beings believe in exclusivity.
Yeah, neutrality is a myth.
What are you exclusive about?
Yeah.
So he's making a fundamental error, a logical fallacy error right from the start that the Bible, as if the Bible is only another text that's in the library. He's making another error when he says that the sex and some of the gratuity that is in, say, the Book of Song of Solomon is the same as, again, and I have flipped through and read some of the text that Charlie is talking about. That I mean, they're grotesque.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a 47-year-old grown man with children of my own, and I was scandalized.
It's gross.
And I have a 9-year-old daughter, a soon-to-be 6-year-old son, and a 2-year-old daughter. Would I want my 9 or my 6-year-old even flipping? You say my 6-year-old.
I wouldn't even want him to see the cover of the book.
Yeah. I mean, much less read the text. I mean, there's nothing acceptable. And I don't mean, well, that's because you're a Christian parent. No, it's because I'm a parent.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you're a degenerate, what parent wants their 9-year-old or 6-year-old to be looking at effectively pornography?
Yeah, it's so wild, man. It's
abusive.
It really is.
That is child abuse.
It is,
and we've accepted it and went so far as to laud and applaud it. Oh gosh, how very brave of you.
Yeah.
Look at the bravery you're showing. You can cut off the perfectly good breasts of your 10-year-old daughter.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if that's what bravery looks like, then sign me up for cowardice, I guess.
So
I don't know.
You're kind of making me think in real time. So Seth Gruber got up on stage and he talked about dualism.
Yep.
Help me out. What was Gnostic dualism, right? And it's when you divide the body from the soul. Okay.
It's historically what was known as docetism. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but what I would go a step further, and help me brainstorm on this, because it's almost like they're dividing body and soul, and then they're taking the soul and weaving it to an idea. Mm-hmm. So it's not just a dividing.
It's a conceptual.
Because their ideas become their identity.
Yeah.
Right. And then so when you get the arguments of you're not inclusive because you don't take my idea, their presuppositions say, well, it's not my idea, it's who I am.
Yeah.
Right?
Which Rosaria talked about as well.
Right. Yeah. So I just,
which means it's off limits. Because how dare you say
That's right.
that my identity isn't real? I mean, I know who I am.
Right.
Yeah, but you've literally told us,
which is postmodern,
10 minutes ago, that you don't know who you are.
Right.
If you don't know who you are so much that you're willing to castrate yourself,
right,
then you fundamentally don't know who you are.
Right.
I raise farm animals.
Mm-hmm.
So I have goats, I have cattle. I've had chickens in the past. We have other, we have indoor animals too. My 9-year-old daughter can look at any of our goats and tell you which sex they are.
Mm-hmm.
She can reach down and feel, we have one big billy goat who has helped grow the flock,
mm-hmm.
and his name is Hank. She could even, if she felt so brave, reach down and feel his
mm-hmm.
genitals
mm-hmm.
and go, yep, Hank's a boy. You know what I mean? So, but and the crazy thing is, Hank, because he's a goat, will never have the moment of clarity that they would say that they have, where he approaches me one morning and says, I feel like a woman. Love you, buddy. No, I get it.
Yeah.
Beat the storm. Beat the storm.
See you. Drive safe.
Wonderful. Danielle, it was great meeting you.
It was wonderful meeting you. Yeah.
Really good meeting you.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for coming. And Brandon, thank you for all that you've done for me. I love you, buddy. Yeah. This too shall pass, man. So thank you, buddy.
Yeah.
Travel safe.
Yeah. Well, as you guys can see, we've made a lot of. Oh, here comes Greg on the Dead Man Walking Mobile. What'd you say?
Oh man.
Oh no, you're fine.
That's conference.
Guys,
that's conference casting.
This is conference life. It's loud.
That's right. Conference casting is this.
Yeah, it's people walking in front of cameras.
It's all good.
It's a party. That's what you want. You want to create buzz, and it's
people
great.
starting to say goodbyes. Yeah. We're not quite done, but
no, we're not.
There's a couple more speakers.
I mean,
tonight.
if you guys are out there and you haven't come to a conference, like not even just this one, just a conference, you're gonna meet some of the I've met, in my experience, I have met some of the best people I will ever meet. So
people that will be by your side when your car breaks down in the middle of the night in a strange city where you don't know anyone and it is panicky.
And then they will come on a podcast with you that has no direction.
No, man, are you kidding? I think this is gold. I would publish this.
Yeah, no, I'm going to publish this. I'm going to publish, Rosario coming in. This is the conference life, man.
This is what it is.
Yeah,
if this doesn't make you want to come to a conference, nothing will.
And I will do the shameless plug thing. If you want a conference like this, you can only come to this conference to get what this. So if you guys are out there and you are worried about
Pastor Whitlow, he needs a raise.
I'm just saying, if you guys want to create better relationships and friends that are going to make you better, which is what makes them dangerous.
That's right.
Right? Because we can have different opinions and sharpen
and
iron.
they give you honest
iron,
truth.
Honest truth. Then
as if there's any other kind of truth, but you know what I mean?
Yeah. You got to check out dangerousfriends.com. Dangerous Friends 25, I think.
I think that's the Dead Men Walking bike horn.
Yeah.
This is chaos, man.
It's
but
awesome.
It's good.
Though. It's
awesome.
good
chaos.
It's a lot of community, a lot of gospel.
Yeah.
A lot of intellect. It's great. And that's the way we're going to win. That's the way we're going to win, man.
This is how that's right. Our ideas must be better than their ideas, and they already are.
Well, they're not even our ideas.
They're God's ideas.
Right.
But and then just like in evangelization, and I remind our people at my church this all the time. When you go out to evangelize, sure, you need to be faithful. That's true.
Mm-hmm.
Because God, in his providence, chose ordinary means to accomplish extraordinary ends.
Mm-hmm.
Could he have made it to where someone turns 32 and they get saved? Sure, he could have. Could he have made that where storks bring babies? Sure, but he didn't. He made the ordinary means that we have to accomplish his extraordinary ends. And so you must be faithful with the understanding that you are cooperating with the Spirit of the living God.
Right.
And that the Spirit of the living God is coming alongside, and he's doing work in the hearts and minds of men, women, boys, and girls that you couldn't accomplish, so that when you, whether it's evangelize or try to bring them along, in political theory or whatever it is that we're talking about, how to watch entertainment better, which is not a small thing. It's because we all consume hours and hours and hours and hours a day of entertainment. So how do we engage with that more Christianly and more thoughtfully and more fruitfully?
Yeah.
So I love what you do, brother.
Yeah. All right, guys. We are going to wrap it up here. I know there's people packing up, and we want to say bye to some people. So
I got to go pick up my rental car.
Yeah. Thank you very much for watching and tuning in. If you have thus far, check out Cory at Civ Eckley Minded, CIVECCLY Minded on YouTube, X, Facebook,
Facebook, civicallyminded.com is my website. So.
Yeah. If you want good biblical teaching, instruction, correction, or if you want guidance there, he's a great resource for that. And then also he has really, really good biblical outlooks on politics. So if you're interested in that, check him out. And then also go buy his merch, support his channel, support a Christian. Don't go and buy Gavin Newsom's merch.
That's right.
Support a Christian. And yeah, that's how we're going to take dominion. So
thanks, brother.
Yeah. And don't forget to watch well.